This is the most expensive free sample pack we have ever made. I am excited for this pack. You probably can hear how much emotion is just drenched in these melodies, and there's a crazy story behind why this pack sounds unlike anything we've ever done. We actually went to a legendary studio in Atlanta called Tree Sound Studio that's been there for 35 years. And this is literally the same place that Outkast recorded at, Drake, Lil Wayne, Akon. The list goes on and on with how many hit records were recorded at this place. There was something about that place that was different than just making kind of sample packs in your bedroom. We ended up finding an amazing vocalist named Milo. We've gotten some of the best vocals we've ever gotten. We ended up working with a world-class keyboardist and a bunch of other types of sessions that really made this pack sound unlike anything we've ever done. I don't want to just talk about the samples. I want to show you. So just to show you, like, listen to how she took a lead, some background harmonies, and some ad-libs. And this is just one small segment of like 100 hours worth of recording we have. And just listen to how good this sounds.
It's all about me, 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 me. Forget about you. But I can't give it my focus. I just can't be that open.
The part that makes this thing really crazy is that what happened to that stuff afterwards, because all our producers, our sound designers took those things and contextualized them into modern production.
My mind's blanket on the lawn. I don't need.
Baby, don't leave. Baby, don't leave.
For example here, we have a cool melody right here. And if I just take one of these vocal loops, I can just drag it straight in and let me stretch it. Everything is BPM and key labeled, so it's kind of really easy to use workflow wise. You can even pitch it down an octave for an extra option. The reason why vocals kind of played a crucial role in this project is at the end of the day, when we're thinking about those big hit records, there's something about the human voice that all listeners love. So when you have just a little bit of that, even when it's like chopped up, distorted, I think it really carries its emotional tones that the listeners really love. All right, so there's two different types of drums in the sample pack as well. One, we provided a really sick trap kit. It pretty much has everything you need to make really sick beats, but for me personally, I really like to have both trap drums and electronic drums because both those industries kind of think differently and have different types of sound. So we also have a bunch of electronic drums. All right, so the drum loops. The reason the drum loops in this pack are freaking crazy is one, a lot of those live drums and stuff, we actually had our producers like take some of the one shots from that, like pull it from the sessions and actually end up using it, some of the influence from those things. Not to mention, something about our drum loops that make them probably one of the best resources out there is that you can take them and we've actually stemmed out not just the melodies, but the drum loops. So like right here, I can just take that and I can immediately hop into a different folder and find a completely different groove, let's say. Okay. And you can really start mix and matching different layers. Just gonna take that. And right there, like I didn't like this one kick, so the reason I love the drum layers is you can just snip it right out of your production. And also just taking out layers, like let's say we didn't want that hi-hat. And then bring it in. And what's crazy is that every single drum loop that we have released inside the sample pack has drum stems. So the stems alone, I'm telling you, you could just go through stems and mix and match and make hundreds and hundreds of new combination of drums. And I think workflow wise, when you're trying to move quick and get ideas out of your heads, I'm telling you, this is one of like the best things for it pretty much. One of the other things that's really exciting about this thing is actually the live drums. So these live drums are actually from Lil Jon Roberts, who's actually Janet Jackson's touring drummer. He absolutely went crazy in the studio. What we did was we just played a bunch of Cymatics melody loops to him and at different BPMs, different tempos. He pretty much just goes ham. He does some really cool fills and just live drumming. But the thing that's exciting about these live drums is that we don't just get the loop like this. We have all the different microphones that were positioned on his drum set to catch every little detail, right? Because for me, I love live drums, but when it comes to like kicks, I don't like necessarily using the live kick. I actually like putting like a little bit more of a process kick. So you can actually take these drums, get all the different mic to layers, right? And choose different layers to work with. So you can take just the hi-hat here, right? And still get that energy. And of course, there's a little bit of bleed from the other mics, but that's actually one of the beautiful parts about live drums like this. So let's just take pieces of this. So already with Phoenix, you're gonna be adding in so much stuff that you would normally have to go to the studio for. You're pretty much just gonna have access to all of these studio sessions to really elevate your sound, right? It won't sound like you're just in a bedroom. It'll sound like you're actually in the studio working with top level musicians, because that's where all the source material is coming from. For this loop, for example, if I were to take it, I would actually dive back into our drum loop stems and find a really solid kick to go with it. Maybe this one. So we're already right here. We got all these like live drums. I'm gonna drag in one of like this really emotional melody loop from the pack and just listen to how it sounds. I don't even know, but we'll see. Already right there, I would start honing and say, okay, I kind of see the vision here. Let me play around with these layers and stuff. And also, we kind of put some cool D&B drums in here. So listen to these. They're actually really cool to add in as like use as like little fills, or like to kind of like chop them up, do some cool stuff. But you also get the stem layers for all the drum breaks. So there's a lot of cool stuff in there you can use. Okay, so percussion loops I also think are important, because when we're talking about layers, I think percussion loops really add a lot to sound. Watch how I can change the sound dramatically just by deleting a handful of layers and adding in like a new percussion loop. Completely changes the sound. Okay, now watch. Let me add in the shaker. And that's really what these like percussions is, right? Sometimes they're weird. Alone, you don't have like the texture, but if you just put it in the right spot in a song, it can do some really cool stuff. Like, let me just add in this little one. I'm gonna use it as like a little build-up sound. That's a little feeling to it, right? So let me just grab this, see if it sounds cool. We actually are going to have a huge collection of hi-hat loops just to speed up that workflow, because they can become useful in a lot of cases. So let's just drag in one, see how it sounds. Do this one. The problem with making these fucking videos is that I don't actually want to make the video. I just want to make the music. Because I start hitting a vibe and I'm like, wait a minute. The first thing I do is I would go back to the, probably the trap drum one shots, find a nice like, I actually sometimes like to stack up like a snare and a rim shot just to give it a little bit of tonality. So I would actually run back to that melody loop and have the light at the end of the tunnel here. I would grab all the stems. Same thing, but I would cut the bass. So it's really nice to have the layers so you can kind of play with what you do and don't want. Okay, let's get into the next things. Maybe we can keep using new pieces of the pack for this, right? One really cool folder is that we actually have a folder called Wet Percussion. And I think wet percussion actually plays a really big deal. Just reverbed out percussions that you can use on your tracks. It's really good for adding tone to your snare or using it as like a little build-up piece. But let me show you real quick what they sound like and how you can use them in your tracks. It's a nice little piece having the wet percussion, and you can just add it to your intros, your breakdowns, layer your snares with them. They're really nice. Next is the FX. I'll go ahead and play a few. I just want to use this. And I'm actually going to grab a one shot. Let's go to the electronic section. We're going to take that little sound. We're going to turn it down just a little bit, reverse it, just to add, with that tonal effect that we just had, just to add a little bit of impact to the drop here. I'm gonna showcase MIDI now, but I'm gonna do it on a new project just so we can kind of see how good MIDI can be, really. So I'm gonna start just with a basic FL keys, and I'm just gonna play through some of the MIDI that's in here. Small side note, the full version, you'll be able to have all the categories of MIDI. So if you want the trap MIDI, the electronic sounding MIDI, the gospel MIDI, the nostalgic lo-fi MIDI, it'll be all in different categories. That one's already fire. I'll actually show you how you can take some really quick one shots and turn something like that MIDI into something cooler. Something like that maybe. Let's throw a quick, just a quick 808. I mean, I can go on and on, right? The MIDI's really sweet, but I'm gonna go back to that piano preset and just play back some more. Something a little more electronic-y. So this one sounds crazy when you're just playing through piano, but let me show you what you would do with something like this, right? I would take that MIDI and immediately run it through Serum. Add a little bass note with that. We can quickly make a respace. By the way, we have respaces that's gonna be coming up this pack too, but I'll make one from scratch real quick. I mean, that was just a little MIDI. I kind of like it just pumping with a kick. I'm gonna check some drum stems real quick and do something cool. If I wanted to make it hip hop, I could take like that main melody lead, right? I could get rid of the respace and bring back in the, check this out. Oh, I could have fun all day sitting here. Honestly, I'm excited because this is what you guys should be doing, right? When you download this pack, just whatever you feel like is inspiring you in the moment, like just grab the sounds and go. And this beta pack is actually a small tip of the iceberg. Phoenix is actually the first product as a part of our Studio Elite series, which we're gonna be spending months and months getting these sort of source materials and kind of our high-end series that we're really excited about. That's gonna give you, like, honestly, albums and albums worth of inspiration. Like through Phoenix alone, you're gonna be able able to explore everything from electronic music to hip hop to fusing new genres together, pop music. We'll even have some like ballet funk randomly thrown in there. Percussion stuff you've never used before. The whole point of this is to push you to new areas of production, give you a level of polish that can be only found in the studios, and really to give you like an endless source of inspiration for your music. So I'm really excited about this. And one important thing to note with our Studio Elite series is that we're only dropping 1,000 licenses, meaning if you're watching this video and it might be like a year down the road, Phoenix actually might not still be available. You can still get the beta pack always, but for the full version that's way bigger, there's actually only going to be 1,000 licenses, and that's one of the advantages of this, because if you're a hip hop producer trying to make beats and send out beats, or you're an EDM producer who wants some like creative material that only you have access to, this is like one of the best products for that, to kind of have a competitive advantage. Anyways, I hope you have as much fun as I do. I'm actually gonna get back to finishing a couple of these ideas off camera, and I hope you guys have an awesome day. Get ready for Phoenix. Peace.